You're listening to the Beyond Sunday podcast, where faith journeys extend beyond the Sunday sermon. Join Pastor Jeff Carlson and guests as they dive deeper into spiritual topics, offering insights and reflections that resonate with believers from all walks of life. Join us for enriching conversations in faith, life, and community. This is Beyond Sunday.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another special edition of the Beyond Sunday podcast. And we are in our 40th anniversary, and so we're doing a series of podcasts with some special people. And so this is Pastor Naren and Suzanne Sloan, and we're glad that you're here. Thanks for joining us as we celebrate our church. And Pastor Naren, you've just come on staff 8 months ago now? Seven? You're counting the day.
It's
actually been 264 days.
We haven't quite reached the countdown to retirement yet.
Yeah, so I was thinking about it, and I thought, how long have you been here?
Since I was 12.
Okay, so really long.
Long time.
And then did you come when you got married, or were you here on your own, Suzanne?
I was here on my own, so about 23 years.
Did you meet her?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, well.
We met at a potluck.
Hey.
We did.
We need to bring those back. So thinking ahead.
I love potlucks.
I do
It's
too.
a great place to find a spouse. I mean it works out well.
It has for me. I don't know about her, but.
Well, but I was thinking this morning, just knowing we were going to talk about how, you guys have served here for 20 plus years, and you served in so many different capacities. Naren, I know you were a board member at one time. I know then you went through and did your credentialing and whatnot, became young adult leaders. I don't know all the places you've served, but how do you feel about all those, being in all those different positions and different moments? Like, what's the thought? Like, there's so many good places and good things to do, places to serve, and you served in so many of them. So talk about that. What motivates you there for Connection Point?
I think just a heart to serve first, to be the hands and feet. And that really wasn't even the mindset of being the hands and feet of Jesus initially. It was just, I want to be in a place to be helpful, to help those that are directing traffic and leading, just to be a help to them. And one thing led to another, and you learn as you go. And there was never any forethought of what might be, long term. It was more the immediate of, there's a need, let's try to meet that need. And really that was it. And the Lord did the rest.
Yeah.
So
I think just experiencing those other areas and knowing like how it works.
Yeah.
And the excitement with being with kids, because that's our future, I think is totally awesome.
Yeah.
And that was kind of
the children.
part of,
Are you saying the children are our future?
I am.
We should teach them well.
We should
and let them lead the way.
And let them.
Oh, okay.
I know,
I
this is stuck in
apologize.
my head.
This is Naren and I's relationship. Just a snapshot here.
Yeah.
So of all those places you've served, what has been your favorite? Like, man, I love doing whatever in the church. What's been one of your favorites?
I think when I started out with it, when I first started coming here, the youth.
Were you like a youth leader?
Yes.
Who was the youth pastor then?
Pastor Jim.
Okay.
And Robin.
Pastor Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, the first few months it was Leon Davis, I think it was.
Okay.
And then Pastor Jim and them kind of stepped in. But I don't know, for me, it was a critical time in my life that I was walking through and going through that along with the kids.
You were a young adult then?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
I think going through that along with the kids, it taught me a lot, to grow up a little bit and just to see them go through that, the experience of me being a youth, not too far from that, and then watching them and walking with that, going on mission trips and stuff like that with them was exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I know right now is your favorite ever.
I mean, without hesitation. I mean, you tell yourself whatever you think you need to hear, but youth leading was great. I think I was, what's the word I'm looking for? Jim kind of inherited me through Suzanne. And he did so graciously.
We're going to have to ask Jim about that next time we get him.
He did so graciously, but through that, though, I was able to, meet and work with Andrew as a young man. I get to experience.
Aren't you so glad for the growth?
I mean, on both sides of that
Producer
equation.
Andrew's here. We're making fun of him. It's awesome.
So, but I think two of my favorite things, I actually was just talking to Mick Dalton about this today, not knowing conversation was coming up, is Christmas Jubilee and the food pantry.
Yeah.
I absolutely love.
So were you for either of those things? I don't know how long they've been around.
Yeah.
Were you part of kind of making those things happen and being part of it from the origin, or the origin? Or do they go back?
Pastor Jim had both of those going already.
Okay.
Food pantry, and during COVID, I just found myself with available time and just started coming over. Emma came with me a few times, and
Emma.
I loved it. I loved being able to pray with people. I learned a lot about myself during that time. But then Christmas Jubilee, again, it was just found ourselves as they needed somebody and we were available. So we just stepped in and spent the day wrapping presents and hanging out with people. What
a great day.
It's an amazing opportunity. So if you're looking for a place to serve, Christmas Jubilee,
it's coming up.
It's coming up
very shortly, right? I have noticed in the last 7 months as we've worked closer together.
Yeah.
Pastor Nan was on staff before that in a volunteer role and now is full time. But I've noticed that there's a real high, what I would say, pastoral gift in you and really in both of you to care for people. How do you think Connection Point and the atmosphere at Connection Point or the community at Connection Point helped pull maybe you don't even see that in yourself. I would assume you see those things in yourself. How has the church helped pull those gifts out of your life so that now employing them, whether from, just a youth leader all the way up now to being on full-time staff, you've seen those gifts grow in your life through the years. How has the church been part of that?
I think, first we had to make ourselves available and then just look for places to serve. And then the people on staff just accepted, like, hey, yeah, let's get them plugged in and just providing opportunities for us to serve. And then as needed, people have come alongside us and mentored us.
Yeah.
So I think, one, making ourselves available, and then people just in the church, just welcoming you and trying to place you and identifying the gifts that they see in you as the Lord has helped to lead them. And then just being able to have opportunity to step into roles and not, saying that you have to have.
We're not closed.
No,
like
not
really hard to break through and get involved.
No.
Yeah, I think just going alongside with the same people of like mind and, the caring aspect of it, when you walk along with that, it brings you right into, I don't know, that spot where you feel like, your gifts are being used.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so fulfilling.
It is.
In the kingdom.
Yeah, and I think just being able to connect with people, I mean, no pun intended, but like feeling like you're in a family, that you belong, makes it so much easier to break in. And you're not even feeling like you're breaking in. You just feel welcomed really well. And then it's just easy to want to serve. And from there, the Lord does the rest as you're obedient.
Yeah.
So.
It's interesting to look at you. You were. We've been interviewing people, and some of them were original, like they gave their day one, and
yeah.
And you guys came here more as young adults, I would say. Well, you were a knothead 12-year-old.
Absolutely,
I have no doubt about that. So, like, what I'm thinking is, all through the stages of life cycle, you've been here.
Yeah.
From being single to being married, figuring out that whole thing.
Yeah.
To now having, your daughter in youth group and your son getting real close to youth group.
Yeah.
How has that journey been through the seasons as the church is, I'm sure at times come alongside you, helping, people, you mentioned people mentoring you or pouring into your life, not only in ministry giftedness, but just in stage of life, who have been some of those people for you that have really invested in you that I don't know, you'll not remember everybody, but what are a couple of names that just immediately come to mind? How do they make that investment in your life?
I think Eric and Candy Holt,
yeah,
the Bolschweids, those were people that mentored me when I was a young adult. Back in the day when we had Sunday school, the Bolschweids led the Sunday school every single Sunday. Those were the people that I felt. And I mean, obviously, Pastor Jim and Robin, I felt like sometimes I got more out of youth than probably the youth kids. I'm like, is he talking to me? I'm not part of this. But I always felt like I got more out of that. Sometimes they definitely mentored.
Yeah.
me in that aspect.
Well, and Eric and Candy Holt introduced us, which is a whole nother segment that we're not going to get to today.
Yeah.
Rick and Nona Fisher actually attended here and invited me as I would spend the night with my best friend, one of their sons. And the expectation was, if you spend the night on a Saturday night, you get up and go to church with us. And I'm so grateful for that.
It's like a trap almost. Right?
It is, but it works.
Start doing that more.
But again, it goes back to life on life. I spent time with them growing up, and they loved me as their own. But then, Eric and Candy Holt. But then here, Jim and Robin Walsh, Michael Ivy and Shanna and them befriended us, and Michael poured into my life and saw, the good, the bad, the ugly, and loved me regardless. Zach Maddox helped as well, pastor here previously, and
Mom
just,
and Pops.
oh yeah, Steve and Susan Johnson. I mean, there's just been multiple people.
Yeah.
And some of them more than others, but it's not to discount even like those moments of just passing conversation that have an impact on you. So, I mean, it's just
that's the power of the body of Christ.
Exactly.
Right? It's not only the deep investments, but it's the little conversation you had that impacted your life, and they have no idea that had such an impact on your life. Some word they said or a scripture they read or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's so imperative for people to understand that, like, your words matter, your actions matter. Like, there's nothing that you do that's insignificant, within the body of Christ. You don't have to have a platform to minister to people.
So what would you say to people that maybe are newer to CPC, or maybe they're not new to CPC, but they've always sort of lived life on the fringe, on the edge? What would the ones that are apprehensive to just keep moving into that circle, keep moving, keep pressing into that next layer, be brave and walk. What would you say to them about that?
I think getting in and serving is huge with that. A lot of times I feel like, just kind of talking, like, the kids almost minister to me when I see them just worshiping or just in their element of asking me questions. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I got to figure this out.
I don't know is an okay answer as long as you go find the answer.
Right. But to me, that ministered to me in my heart in a way of like, just, God shows up and he's there in every single aspect of wherever you're at, whether it be taking temperatures during COVID or, being able to greet people or, saying hi to people. To me, that's like Jesus. I want to shine and reflect Jesus through me in that. And then I see the kids, I'm like, oh, they listen, or they see, I see them do stuff. To me, I don't know, that was a huge thing.
Yeah. John Ortberg wrote a book called If You Want to Walk on Water, You Got to Get Out of the Boat. And I love that sentiment that you got to stop sitting on the sidelines. You got to get in the game. If you want to be, not all of us want to be Peter, but, but if you want to get out and walk on water, if you want to do the great things that Jesus did, like, you've got to get in and do things. He's not just going to plop things down in your lap. You're going to have to take some steps of faith and do so obediently. And it's a risk. But he's faithful. So you're never going to be met with disappointment unless you have unrealistic expectations. He says to pray and ask, and he says that in the context of our heart being changed, and our asks are in alignment with his heart and his will. So I think if you're hesitant, you just got to do it. You're going to be welcomed. You're going to be shown the way. You're going to, and there's accountability, there's correction.
Yeah, and it's okay to come and not know how to do it, and
absolutely
not know how to be in a relationship, with other believers, or not know.
And it's actually
overshare,
and it's
better.
They
don't know how much they should, right? So like, it's okay though. It's a safe place to do.
It's safe, and it's honestly better sometimes that you don't know, so that you don't have to unlearn bad habits in some areas. So,
I just I look at the culture of church, not CPC, but the culture of church in general, and so many believers in America kind of like they want to live that fringy Christian life where they want to love God, and they want to serve the Lord, but they don't really want to press into the pieces that really would cause them to come alive and become what they're supposed to be. And I look at you guys, and I'm like, you were 2 years ago that took that risk, and you said, Naren, you wouldn't be in ministry today had you not pressed into that. If we draw the circle and you're out in the fringe, you continued to move in alone, and then with your wife. allowing the Lord to do that, you wouldn't be here today in the capacity that you are had you not taken that risk. Not that everyone who does is going to end up in full-time ministry or something like that, but I think it's proven powerful and effective in your life.
And I think it's important to note too that like even all through those different stages of moving out of the fringe and closer to, whatever that next step was, like I was being perfected.
Yeah,
and I'm not perfect now by any stretch.
Listen.
No, but I mean, I was a mess, but people like heard me, counseled me, and God redeemed that. And now some of those things are being used in ministry. So I don't want there to be this misconception that you have to be perfect to enter into those moments of God using you in greater capacity.
You don't have to know all the theology. You don't have to understand all the you don't have to have the Bible memorized. You don't have to be able to preach. You don't have you can just literally come the way you are.
Right.
And I feel like that our church is the kind of church that is cool with that.
Yeah.
Come how you are and be who you are, and let's do life together and see what the Lord says.
Right.
I think along with that too, like moving from what's comfortable and sometimes maybe not comfortable is huge. Like, some things when I came to this church, I would only sit in the back and I'm like, I'm not sure what's happening. But I'm like, you know what? When God presses in, that he's there and he's moving within the service. And it's not about me. It's about, seeing the light and the feet of Jesus shine through.
So speaking of that, give me one or two things, like as you look forward, we've been here 40 years. You've been here for half of those 40 years.
Gosh.
I don't know how that makes you feel, but as you look, you look back, look forward, and you see the Lord. And I think what's been very evident in every conversation I've had with these podcast episodes is just the hand of the Lord on this church through the years, just always on the church, leading the church, through pastoral changes, through building programs, through ministry, whatever, just cultural shifts. I mean, how many cultural shifts have we had in the last 20, 25 years, right? So as you look forward, and obviously we don't know what's coming, what will happen in the world or in America or whatever, but as you see the Lord's continuing to work, what are one or two things that, man, I just see the Lord in that, and I'm so excited to be part of that. Give me a couple of things like that.
I think one of the things that right now, we talked a bit briefly about this before we started, and I think just this being the epicenter of multiplication for our body. Yeah. But then also, as I look at that, I think about some of the strongholds that we've been talking about as a staff and just where people are at. And it's things that have been ingrained in their family and in their family of origin for so long that this is the now where those things are going to be broken. And what we're going to see is the dreams that we have now are not dreams that like any of us in this room are going to see come to fruition, but it's the beginning of those. Yeah. And that the Lord's going to see faithful that in, 2 to 3 generations of kids, if the Lord tarries, like these things are going to be broken. And the idea of biblical literacy is going to be broken. It's going to be shattered because we have a youth group that's on fire. Yeah. We have, Hawk and Abigail and Sarah that are just doing an amazing job with our youth. And we're seeing church plants go out into those marginalized communities. Yeah. And I think that the faith that it takes to do that those are the hard things. Those are the dark places. And the Lord honors that. And we're stepping into those areas.
He doesn't make it easy.
He doesn't make it easy
but
at
he goes
all.
with you.
This is a hard season right now.
Yeah, it is.
But
a lot of energy, a lot of money, a lot of effort, a lot of what's going to happen. It's just,
but it's a joy,
faith, right? It's risk.
It is, but it's a joy. I think that's for me, this is the first time I've experienced that kind of tension of these are big things, but the Lord's doing it. Yeah. We're just simply being obedient.
We're not this smart. I'm just saying.
I'm not. But I just really see that as this being the epicenter of a start of generational things being broken. Wow. And in families. And begun.
Old things broken and new
Absolutely.
things begun. Yeah.
I think with the Kingdom Builders that, that's been the last several years, just continuing to see where that flourishes and going out. And like you had said, just that, we have a community here, we have a community over there, we have a community everywhere. We can be a mission. Yeah. We can be on that mission to know that, and I don't know, that just, it excites me just to know, like, hey, the youth can go out in this field. We can go out to our neighbors. We can go out to Poland. We can do whatever, and we can be a mission. That
Together.
excites me. Yeah.
Together to Poland.
You guys saying you want I mean, I'll take you. You mentioned, both of you mentioned our youth group, and the sense I've always had is this season we're in. How many of these kids will end up being the next generation of missionaries?
Yeah.
The next generation of board members. The next generation. I believe this in our youth group right now is the next pastor of this church that will sit in my chair someday and your chair someday when God tells us to go to Poland or something, like that. And I don't know if they're a kid right now or a teenager or whatever, but like that's that sense in my spirit that there's so many things God is going to break loose and do anew.
Yeah.
And that makes me so excited. And your kids are part of that. My kids are part of that.
Right.
Yep.
And I'm so grateful that they get to do things like that together.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
It's a joy. It's a privilege.
it is. It's an honor. And it's an honor to serve with you.
Yeah.
It's an honor to serve with you. And I don't say that because we're on tape, we're taping, but I really feel that way about you, Amy. And I love you very much. And we're glad to have you on our team and to be part of this thing with you. And we don't look at it as like we're at the top and everybody else is down here. We're the knights of the round table. We sit together equally and do the work of the kingdom.
I want swords.
Do what?
I want a sword.
That's a great idea.
I hang it above our doors.
And on that note, Andrew's thumbs up for swords. Listen, don't tempt me, because that's something I would totally do.
You're headed back to Europe soon.
I mean, you never know. Listen, thank you so much for taking some time today to sit down and chat. We're grateful for that and grateful for you to be a part of our church. Thanks for taking some time to listen or watch. And we hope you have a great day. We'll see you next time on Beyond Sunday.
Thank you for tuning in to the Beyond Sunday podcast. We invite you to join the conversation and share your thoughts at connectionpointchurch.org/Beyond Sunday. Spread the word and share this podcast with others. Stay inspired and connected as we explore faith beyond Sunday.